Everyone who plays video games has games they started playing but never finished, whether it's due to the game not being as enjoyable as you expected or just a lack of time. Everyone has put a game down before only to never come back to it, but even then you can't help but think back on some of those unfinished games and wonder whether you'll ever go back and finish them. This happens to me often, and recently I've been thinking more about some of these games after going back and beating a game I started years ago and loving it. Yes, it took me 6 years to go back and finish The Last of Us after starting it back in 2019, but we're not here to talk about that. That game deserves its own video. But like I said, after playing it and loving it as much as I did, I started thinking back on some of those other games that I've never finished. So here's a list of 5 of those games and the reason why I didn't finish them. I want to start off with the game I think about going back to the most. I love the Legend of Zelda games. It's my favorite game series of all time, with Twilight Princess being not just my favorite Zelda game, but my favorite game of all time. So I've always been excited about playing every Zelda game there is. Well, almost every Zelda game. So when Tears of the Kingdom was announced, I couldn't wait to play it. While Breath of the Wild was not my favorite as it was different from the traditional Zelda formula I was used to, it was still an amazing game, and learning that Nintendo was releasing a sequel that could potentially bring back dungeons, which was something that played a big part in the old Zelda games, made me really excited to play it. I even got the Tears of the Kingdom OLED along with the collector's edition of the game when it released. Then, once I sat down and started playing it, I was quickly sucked in by the narrative. Continuing from where Breath of the Wild left off and exploring below Hyrule Castle with Zelda was a great introduction to the game, and even now I still think this game has one of the best openings to any game I've ever played. Seeing Ganondorf awaken from his slumber and destroying the Master Sword along with Zelda disappearing in the middle of falling and Link losing his arm made me want to keep playing and find out more about what happened, along with wondering what will happen to Link now that all the progress he made in Breath of the Wild was lost in a matter of seconds. And then there was the rest of the game. At first, I was having a lot of fun exploring everywhere and completing missions, until I wasn't. You see, as my favorite series of all time, I've always liked 100% in every Zelda game I play. I've been doing it ever since I first played Twilight Princess, and Tears of the Kingdom was no different. I wanted to 100% this game, so I was doing everything I could in the game as much as I could. But with the amount of content that was added, I started feeling overwhelmed by all of it, and eventually I found myself not enjoying the game anymore. And I really didn't want to force myself to keep playing it if I wasn't enjoying it. So for the first time ever, I put a Zelda game down and told myself I would just come back to it later. Now I know what you're thinking. Why don't I just play the game without 100% in it? And well, it all comes down to habit. When you develop a habit, it's not easy to break it, as after a while they start feeling natural and expected. That's what happened to me with Tears of the Kingdom. I thought about not worrying about 100% in the game and just playing through it. But once I would start heading to the next main story point, I will get the urge to stop and explore the surroundings for collectibles or side missions on my way there, and I will have a feeling of discomfort that sometimes won't go away until I went back and explored if I didn't. So in the end, because of this habit, I couldn't finish Tears of the Kingdom. This next game was one I had no idea it even existed until I randomly bought it one day for a friend's birthday back in 2017. But I bought a PS4 copy thinking he had a PS4 system. Turned out he didn't. So I ended up buying him something else instead and kept the game for myself as it looked pretty interesting. Now I know what you're thinking. How on earth did I not know about The Witcher 3? And well, back then I will only pay attention to specific game series I liked. Some of those being Zelda, Assassin's Creed, and Super Mario. So my game knowledge outside those series was very limited. After keeping the game for myself, I kept thinking about playing it, but while it always looked interesting to me, it was never a primary choice for me when it came to picking out a game to play. So it wasn't until late 2021 that I started playing it and it was fun, for like 30 minutes that is, before I got a headache and passed out right after. See, back then I had come down with COVID and I spent about a week and a half in bed doing nothing but watching anime, playing games, and sleeping. With sleeping taking most of my time due to constant headaches and constantly feeling tired. Since I had nothing but time then, I decided to look through some of the games in my backlog I hadn't played yet. That's when I found a copy of the game buried under a bunch of other games I had been constantly playing. So I decided it was finally time to play it, and well, due to my sickness that didn't last long. Since then, I haven't really gone back to it for, well, lack of motivation to play it. Maybe it's because how bad I was feeling at the time or the massive headache I got while playing it. But ever since, every time I think about playing it again, I always seem to find an excuse to not play it as I don't really have the urge to play it like I did back then. So I definitely think it was a mistake to start playing it while I was that sick. Cyberpunk 2077 was a long-awaited game that had a lot of hype around it. So when I heard a lot of my friends talking about it with so much excitement right before it released, I also started looking forward to it. So much so that I pre-ordered the game the first chance I got. And then once the game was finally released, I had planned on playing it on my next day off. That was until I heard about how glitchy and unfinished the game felt, and many people telling me to wait until they patch a lot of stuff in the game before playing it. So I waited for a while until I eventually kind of forgot all about it and moved on to other games. Then last year, I decided to finally play it after many of my friends had played and loved it. That's when I found out that it was a first-person open-world game. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that, and I think games like these that offer a lot of content are great and worth the money. But through the years, I found that I'm not a big fan of first-person games unless they're on the shorter side like Edith Finch, or they are first-person multiplayers like Cold War, Valorant, and Minecraft. I'm not sure why, but playing single-player first-person view games for long periods of time tends to bore me and I lose interest in them after a while. And when it comes to open world games, while I think they are great and I used to enjoy them a lot, as they release more and more through the years, I often find myself getting overwhelmed by the amount of content in some of them. More than likely because besides Assassin's Creed, I grew up playing mainly linear games. So when I saw that Cyberpunk was a mix of both of these things, I started slowly losing interest in playing until eventually I wasn't really enjoying the game anymore. I do want to come back to it since I heard many good things about the game and the story, but first I need to get over how I feel about these types of games. It's the same reason I've never played Skyrim. I know some of you might be thinking it's a pretty dumb excuse, and I agree. It's something I just need to stop thinking about and just play it, and hopefully I'll be able to do it sooner rather than later. Ever since I can remember, I've always liked Mario games. I mean, I grew up watching my parents play games like Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario 64. So a lot of the first video games I ever played were Mario games, and I have a lot of nostalgia and love for the franchise. So imagine how excited I was to play Super Mario Odyssey. Ever since it was announced, I had been wanting to play it. As soon as the game released, I immediately went to Walmart and picked up a copy of it. And then I came home the same day and started playing it right away and loved it. I was playing the game every chance I got and it took over my free time for about 2 weeks. Then, due to a family matter, me, my sister, and my parents had to take a trip to another state. And I didn't want to take my Switch with me because I didn't have a case for it at the time and I didn't trust myself to take care of it. So I decided I would get back to the game when we got back, but once we did, I didn't go back to it and instead I moved on to other games. That's about it, honestly. I don't really have a big reason for it, just never really went back to it. And even though I keep telling myself I'll go back to it someday, it's been so long that I know I will have to start a brand new file at this point since I barely remember anything that happened during my playthrough of it. So knowing that also makes me put the game on hold even more. Ever since I played Fire Emblem Three Houses, I've fallen in love with JRPGs and have been playing a lot of them since. One of these games was dragonquest 11S, Echoes of an Elusive Age. Not only was this game praised by its story and gameplay, but the main artist of the game was none other than one of the best mangakas to ever exist, Akira Toriyama, may he rest in peace. The same person who created Dragon Ball, one of the best anime series of all time and the series that got me into anime. So naturally, when I found out about this game, I got it and immediately started playing it and it went well above every expectation I had for it. I have no doubt in my mind that if I were to finish this game, it will become one of my all-time favorite games. I was enjoying it a lot and I completely neglected every other game I had planned on playing at the time and spent all my time playing this game instead. I got really into it and was having a blast, but then I got stuck in one of the bosses in the game and I couldn't progress unless I backtrack and level up some more. However, that was impossible. You see, the boss I got stuck on was a kraken in the middle of the sea, and the only place I could backtrack to was an island that only had a village with no enemies, a safe island per se, so there was no way for me to level up there. And unfortunately, up to this point, I have made the mistake of only making one save file, so I couldn't go back to previous points in the game where I could level up some more. Which meant I will have to restart the game and play from the beginning all over again. This was really discouraging as I had been doing a lot of exploring and gotten a lot of collectibles up to this point. So this made me put the game down until I felt the motivation to start it from the beginning again. And honestly, recently, I've been thinking about it more and have been inching more towards playing it again. So that may be happening sooner than I thought. Not to mention, I still wonder whether I was truly underleveled or maybe I just sucked at the game. Which is very possible as it was only my third JRPG game ever and I still wasn't used to the turn-based mechanics and I know I definitely made the wrong moves on multiple occasions. So going back to it will be a good way to see if I have improved now that I play a lot more JRPGs compared to back then. But that was 5 games I couldn't finish. Which of these games do you think I should play next? And do you have any unfinished games that you want to go back to and finally play through them? Let me know down in the comments. And thanks for watching until the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, I would really appreciate it if you consider liking and subscribing. Have a great morning, day, or night, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.